The analogy that I think of is the expression about shooting fish in a barrel. YouTube is the barrel, and the content creators are the fish.
This is serious. Right now, this week, a lot of people are talking about YouTube, the FTC, and a thing called COPPA or COPPA. I've been watching, I've been reading, I've been listening. And the vast majority of what I've seen and heard spoken about this subject that's affecting YouTubers and ultimately YouTube viewers as well right now has been completely wrong, dangerously incorrect. And this pains me to my core because the penalty for getting this wrong, either through simple misunderstanding and ignorance, or apathy, just not caring, or stubbornness, just thinking that it's not going to affect you, or you're better than the circumstances that are going on right now. The penalty for getting this wrong can be life-alteringly devastating.
There will be consequences for content creators. We have a variety of tools at our disposal to cull through those 23 million channels and in an expeditious way. So when we talk about aggressiveness, we are typically talking about civil penalties. Not only can we sue Google and YouTube for compliance with COPPA, but also individual channel owners and content creators.
This is not something that is like the previous issues of demonetization or limited monetization, people losing some ad revenue, the whole copyright strike issues that keep coming around, people having some videos taken down that shouldn't be. This makes all of those look like nothing in comparison. This literally can do thousands of times more direct damage to real people, actual individuals, than any of those things, and possibly all of them combined. This is a major, major issue that people need to understand from a factual perspective, not based on what we want to think, not based on what we feel. This is very cut and dry. It's about laws, it's about legal interpretation, it's about things that are written, it's about things that are done, that are set in stone as of now. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to just talk about the facts of this current situation based upon information from the sources. So let me define the situation carefully, what's actually happening, what we're dealing with here. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about the FTC, which is the United States Federal Trade Commission. And we're talking about COPPA, or COPPA. It's C-O-P-P-A, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of 1998. It's a law that was ratified in 1998, went into effect in the year 2000. It's not something new. So why are we talking about it now in 2019, almost 20 years after it went into effect? That's because YouTube was found to have been violating that federal law in a flagrant way. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission in the United States, caught them red-handed and has come to an agreement with them. Their lawyers working together have come to an agreement to punish YouTube and to deal with the problem. What is exactly the problem? It's actually much simpler than a lot of what you've heard about. It boils down to this. When you sign up for an account on YouTube, you sign up for, nowadays it's a Google account. One time YouTube was separate. There's a rule that is set by the site or by the app, by the service, YouTube, now Google, saying that if you are under the age of 13, you may not sign up. And there's one reason for that, and that reason is COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of 1998. That law was put into effect to protect children from companies like Google doing what companies like Google do, collecting data, huge amounts, creepy amounts of very, very personal, identifiable behavioral information that is almost on a level of magic where normal people have trouble understanding how a computer is able to glean so much information about our lives just through our browsing and app usage activities. The COPPA law is designed in part to prevent that sort of activity from occurring to kids, defined as persons under the age of 13. Now, if you think that this doesn't apply to you if you live outside of the United States, you are incorrect, because YouTube is based in the United States, Google is based in the United States, and it publishes information, it publishes content from creators, regardless where the creators are based. It publishes that information and that content in the US. Therefore, this applies to everyone across all of YouTube. So when you're signing up for a YouTube account, you're not allowed to be under the age of 13. That makes Google supposedly free and clear from having to deal with the COPPA law. The COPPA law only applies for accounts and users that are under the age of 13. Google says, we don't allow anybody under the age of 13, so we don't need to worry about that. We can collect all the data that we want. We can put together gigabytes of information about people's families, where they live, places they visit, all these things, and we're safe from the laws. Of course, we all know that millions of kids have accounts on YouTube and use them every single day. Thousands, if not millions of kids even have YouTube channels and publish their own content. How do they do that? Well, it's very simple. In most cases, the kids simply lied about their age. In some cases, not as many, parents just create accounts and then allow their kids to use them. If YouTube didn't know that was going on, if YouTube or Google didn't know that kids were using their service with logged in accounts, there would be no problem. They would not be liable for the mistakes because it was ultimately the users who were lying. However, YouTube absolutely knew, Google absolutely knew, and that has been proven without, or beyond a shadow of a doubt, without any question whatsoever. They were accidentally quite brazen about it, actually, in ultimately marketing the ability to reach kids, young kids, for advertising. They sold advertising at premium rates to companies that wanted to advertise specifically products and services to young kids. So YouTube messed up and they were caught. This situation is not about all of these channels out there that were made by parents to exploit their kids for money based on the fact, the demonstrated fact that a video that has a small child in it will get more views and make more money than one that does not. This has nothing to do with parents that have been caught abusing their kids for those purposes, physically abusing them, subjecting them to mental psychological trauma and other such. This is not about any of that. This is not about kids doing sponsored videos. Ryan's World, formerly known as Ryan's Toy Review, that channel, they've got a complaint against them. This has nothing to do with that whatsoever. This has nothing to do with kids being able to watch kid inappropriate content on YouTube. This is not about saving kids from seeing things that they probably ought not see. This is completely unrelated to that, has nothing to do with that. This is not even about child predators operating on YouTube, as has been made very, very prominent in media even this most recent year. This is not about that. This is about a very straightforward technicality about privacy, about YouTube collecting data about kids, knowing that they're collecting data about kids, and then storing and selling that information for a profit. That's all this is about.
What COPPA does is it prohibits the collection of personally identifiable information from children under the age of 12 and under without verifiable parental consent.
It's not about the Elsa Spider-Man costume stuff where kids were being baited into watching content that appeared to be designed for them, but was actually not at all kid appropriate. This is not about any of that. So why specifically are we talking about this today in November of 2019? The settlement was officially announced to the public in September. September of 2019. And at that time, a lot of people talked about it, a lot of people were concerned about it, but there wasn't good clarity about the specifics of what was going to happen. The FTC gave out their information. Naturally, YouTube creators and YouTube viewers and fans were looking more to YouTube itself to provide guidance and to explain exactly how this is going to affect us. The first phase of the revelation of that new information, of that increased clarity, occurred on November 12th, just this week, when YouTube turned on essentially the ability and now the requirement for individual YouTube creators, people who make videos like myself, to deem our own content, to self-report our content as either for kids or not for kids. One or the other. We can do it on a full channel basis. We can do it on a per video basis. In addition, YouTube also publicized, finally, their first pass of using their own AI, their own algorithms, to try to figure out what content is already out there that should be marked as for kids. Every single video on YouTube was either marked by YouTube as for kids or not. But here's the thing. What YouTube did, what they marked, what they didn't mark, means nothing. So many creators are going through their lists of videos and trying to figure out, what does this mean that this one video was marked as for kids, but this video over here was not marked as for kids? This video over here that was marked as for kids is probably mislabeled. I should just fix that for them. And there's a lot of dangerous stuff going on right now. There are a lot of people making a lot of tremendous mistakes because under the terms of the settlement between YouTube and the FTC, YouTube has gotten itself to be no longer liable for these violations.
Content creators are strictly liable for COPPA compliance.
We're unable to confirm whether or not your content is made for kids.
It's on us, creators, people who actually make the videos. It is 100% on us. Any content that is potentially directed towards children or that could attract kids to watch it must be marked as such. And then YouTube will automatically turn off all that creepy data collection that they do for those videos. They will also stop serving what are called personalized or targeted ads on those videos. That reduces the amount of money that comes in to creators, but it's associated with the cutoff of the creepy information that is typically used to target very specific ads to individuals rather than to types of content. Also, for all of these videos that are marked as for kids, whether YouTube does it or creators do it themselves, comments get turned off, and for now, end screens also get turned off, and some other functionality, the ability to like, for instance, gets turned off. Now, not all the things that they're turning off are specifically to comply with this settlement, but certainly the advertising part is, and the overall marking of the content is strictly related to this settlement. So I already mentioned that whether YouTube flags a video as for kids or not does not matter. Let me explain that a little bit more because it's one of the most important things here that is definitely the most misunderstood, that is the least understood, and is going to cause the most headache and problems and major, major pain for a lot of people who ignore this or who get it wrong. YouTube has told us explicitly in no uncertain terms that they cannot legally and will not tell us what videos are compliant. Even though they've gone through and tagged all of these, they cannot and will not legally tell us what videos are compliant, what videos are kid targeted and what videos are not. I'm going to have to say that one more time because still people are not going to get it. And I encourage you to go to the sources, go to YouTube, see what they have said about this themselves. Go to the FTC website. They've done abstracts, they've got videos about it, explaining things in plain English. And they're actually pretty clear about it for the most part. both YouTube and the FTC. It doesn't matter what YouTube thinks about your videos.
Like all automated systems, it's not perfect.
We thought that an algorithm wasn't a great idea. An algorithm just might not be effective. YouTube is undertaking that voluntarily.
If you don't set your content appropriately, this may result in compliance issues for you under COPPA and other laws. Ultimately, we can't provide legal advice. Be sure to consult a lawyer if you have questions. Talk to a lawyer if you're still unsure whether or not your content should be marked as made for kids.
They are out of the picture now. They just have to have the ability, per the settlement, for creators to self-report. And they have to turn off the personalized ads and the data collection. Ultimately, it's up to creators to set those flags correctly, no matter what YouTube does. If YouTube says you have nothing to worry about, they go through, or at least that's what you think they say, they go through all of your content and none of your videos get marked as for kids, but the FTC disagrees because you're covering Lego or Transformers, action figures, die-cast, collectibles, statuettes, games, cartoons. Even if the content itself you think is not directed towards kids, that doesn't matter. It's more about the original intent of what can be seen and heard in that video. And I guarantee it's going to be more about the visual impact. You can review $100, $200, $300 action figures and statuettes. If it looks from 20 feet away to somebody who knows nothing about the subject, like a toy, you should mark it as being for kids, because if you don't, some FTC compliance intern who's given a quota of 10,000 pieces of content or videos to look at per week, or some FTC algorithm that goes through looking at general aspects of images in videos on an automated basis, will not be able to distinguish your intent, will not be able to distinguish between a Black Series Hasbro Star Wars figure that's made more for teens and adult collectors and just a basic level one that's made for kids 4 and up. There is no distinction per the law, per the written word of the settlement between these two things. And it doesn't matter whether I, as a YouTube creator, as a video creator, think otherwise. It doesn't matter if our viewers are predominantly older. It doesn't matter if we have no kids watching the content at all.
Where the content is directed to children, we are presuming that the users are 12 and under.
All that matters is the content and ultimately what is being shown on the screen and what it's intended to be about, what it looks like it's intended to be about. It doesn't matter if you want kids to watch your content or not. It doesn't matter if you think kids watch your content or not. It doesn't matter if kids actually watch your content or not. It doesn't matter if you use kid-targeted vocabulary or not. If you use small, simple words, if you talk like you're talking to a kid, or if you talk in very highfalutin terminology and you are specifically targeting adults in your narrative track. That does not matter here. And if you think that it does, you are at risk of having your life ruined. I'll get more into the specifics of how your life can be ruined by that. It doesn't matter the specific themes that you cover. So within Lego, it doesn't matter if I'm reviewing a Juniors set or a Stranger Things set. Stranger Things is not for kids 13 and under. Lego is. The Lego Stranger Things set is a toy. It's made of Lego pieces. It has Lego minifigures in it. It has a little toy truck in it. As far as this law is concerned, as far as this settlement is concerned, as far as future FTC compliance officer actions are concerned, it is for kids. And if you don't mark it as such, you will be in violation. It's not 100% guaranteed that you will be caught. But if you do get caught, the penalties are extremely severe. It has been explicitly stated that your videos can be removed permanently from YouTube. Your channel can be removed permanently if you mislabel too many videos. The worst thing that can happen, though, has been stated very, very clearly. You can be fined over $42,000 US per video in violation, directly to you as a creator, as a YouTuber, per video. If you have 1,000 videos on your channel and you mark all of them as not for kids, but they're actually showing Lego things, maybe it's Lego Spawn, maybe it's Lego Attack on Titan, maybe it's Lego Stranger Things, any of these things that you think are not specifically for kids. If you're talking to adults, if your main audience is teens and adults, you can be fined $42 million US for getting it wrong. That's what's at risk. And there's no way out of it. There's no appeal to that other than to try to take it to court. Most people who are saying right now, oh, well, if they try to come after me, I'll just take them to court, don't know what the heck they're talking about. If you've never been involved directly in legal action, you don't know just how expensive and how serious legal action is. It is not child's play. It is not something to mess around with. It is a very, very serious risk. If you want to take on the US government in interpretation of a law that they have stated fairly clearly, you had better be ready to have the fight of your life, and you had better be rich to be able to hire very good lawyers for a very long time. It's that serious. Doesn't matter if you're looking at vintage toys. It doesn't matter if you're looking at expensive toys. It doesn't matter if you're looking at collector targeted toys. This also applies to, it applies to Lego, it applies to other toys, it applies to cartoons, cartoon-like content, even if there's cursing in it, even if it doesn't look like it's made, or even if you don't think it's made for kids, if it looks to an outsider who doesn't know any better like something that's made for kids, and you don't mark it as for kids, you are most likely in violation. So most of what I've been saying has been targeted at actual YouTubers. I've been talking about the actual impact on YouTubers. Here's how it affects just regular viewers who don't even publish videos. All of the content that you like, that you enjoy, the good content, the good, solid, wholesome, innocent content that's out there that you like can disappear if the creators of that content get this wrong. If they set these little flags in the back end on their little YouTube creator studio incorrectly, whether it's due to misunderstanding the current situation, whether it's due to not really caring and just letting YouTube go ahead and flag whatever, I'll just let what happens. I'm just enjoying making content. I'm going to do it no matter what. Or whether they're being stubborn and rebellious and trying to say, no, I don't believe that this should be marked as for kids, even if the wording of the FTC settlement states that it should be. Now, there are some gray areas. A lot of people are having trouble understanding what exactly is intended to be for kids, and you really, if you want to know more about that, if you want to understand it a little bit better, you should really read every single word of at least the abstracts, the plain English stuff that YouTube itself has published about this. They have most recently this week, the week of November 12th, I don't know if it was exactly on November 12th or a day before, a day after, they put out a video that I thought was actually very good and actually very well produced, explaining just an overview of what this means and what YouTube's own stance is on all of this, explaining how it's not up to YouTube and it doesn't matter what YouTube flags. Those are just suggestions, that's just guidance, but it's ultimately up to us. In the wording of the settlement and even in the abstracts, you don't have to read the full length version. The abstracts are actually very good. They're as far as I can see, they're done really to distill down a lot of legalese to language that people can understand fully and completely. They explain what is clear cut, and they explain where there are ranges. It is up to us to determine the ranges, but we need to be mature. We need to be realistic in determining where we fit in the gray ranges on a video by video basis. I don't think it's that hard as long as you're not being hard-headed about it. If you're being stubborn about it, if you want to take a stance against this, it can ultimately hurt. And I can't give legal advice myself. I'm not a lawyer. You will need a lawyer, though, if you get it wrong. And a lot of people are actually consulting lawyers already. A lot of people with actual legal knowledge who are studied on this matter are starting to chime in about it as well. And most of the guidance that's out there is saying, don't be stubborn, don't try to be rebellious against this. You will be ruined completely. So that's about all that I have to say about this for right now. How does this affect me? As I said when the settlement first came out, I don't think it's going to affect me too much. I have been preparing since September to alter some of my content a bit to ensure that more of my content can be legally marked as not for kids, but the vast majority of the content that I have made to date should be marked as for kids and will be marked as for kids. Regardless of the theme of the Lego stuff, it's all toys, should be marked as for kids because toys are made for kids. The Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff, the DC stuff, the Stranger Things set, My City, all that stuff should be marked as for kids. It's very, very clear from everything that I've written, everything that I've seen, that should be marked as for kids, even though YouTube in its first AI pass, YouTube's AIs and algorithms being notoriously unreliable. I can't understand for a moment why anyone now is actually trusting and believing every single specific action on a video by video basis of YouTube algorithms now, after all of these years of the YouTube algorithms being wrong and doing things wrong consistently. Well, actually not consistently, inconsistently, which is the only consistency about it, that they're consistently inconsistent and very frequently wrong about it. I'm going to comply to the best of my ability with the letter of the law and with the intent. I am personally in favor. So this is getting into a little bit of subjective stuff right now. I just want to be very clear about that. I'm not talking about specifically facts right now. Clearly, I'm talking about my own perspective about my own content here. So take it, with a grain of salt. I personally am not going to be changing too much of what I am doing just yet. I've been preparing for a while to pivot some things, but for the most part, it's mostly going to be business as usual for me. But you are going to see on my channel a lot of videos come January 1st when this settlement goes into full legal effect. You're going to see a lot of videos losing comments, and you're going to not be seeing notifications when I put up videos for toys that are made for kids. But this channel right here is going to continue on. I'm going to continue to do my pure builds. I'm going to continue to do my speed builds. I enjoy doing that content. I can still run ads on that content. This doesn't cut off all of my revenue. I'm going to be looking very carefully at how much revenue gets cut off and how much I need to change what I do. But for the most part, as I said, when the settlement was announced in September, I personally am not freaking out about this, but I am taking it very, very seriously, and I am going to do my best to comply from day one with what I am supposed to do, what I now have as a responsibility as a creator, per YouTube having done wrong, Google having done wrong, and negotiating a settlement that puts all the liability onto me and people like me. Please look for the facts. Don't fall victim to emotional tangents. Don't try to connect what's going on right now to things that are unrelated. This is very specific. Find out the information for yourself. If you have any questions, look on YouTube's own site for official information from YouTube. Look at official information from the FTC. Educate yourself based on information from the sources. Don't even rely on what I just said, anything that I just said as the word, because none of it is the word. The word comes from the FTC and has been passed on by YouTube as well. I'm going to cut myself off right now. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again soon because I'm going to keep going.